Paul's letter to the Romans, 12 and 1. Would you let me know by again saying amen? Amen. A loud and resounding amen. I'll be reading from the New Revised Standard Version. The word of our Lord reads, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern. Tell your neighbor, discern. Discern. Tell your other neighbor, discern. Discern. What is the will of God? What is good and acceptable and perfect? God's word for God's people. And the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my God, my Redeemer. I want to preach from, amen, the subject and the title this morning, Discern, Don't Decide. Amen. Help me preach it. Tell your neighbor, discern. Discern. Don't decide. Don't decide. Turn to your other neighbor, lest they think you mean. Amen. Tell your other neighbor that you chose second. Tell them, discern. Discern. Don't decide. Don't decide. Amen. Come on, let's give the Lord one more hand clap of praise. Amen. If you would allow me to preach through the lens that is my life. Amen. If you will allow me. I believe it is an appropriate lens. I believe there is no better lens in which preaching can come from than if the practitioner of the preached word would indeed use themselves as an example in how God moves in their life. So if you allow me, amen.
Yes, sir.
I plan to preach through the lens of my life. For I would like to tell you and reveal that the last couple of weeks have been some of the most difficult weeks in my life. And at the same time, amen, at the very same time, they have also been some of the most rewarding weeks of my life. You see, they are rewarding due to the degree of self-reflection and self-examination that I've had to go through. Can I get an amen? Amen. I'd add here parenthetically, if you haven't tried that for yourself, I would argue that each and every one of us on a regular and consistent basis all go through the process of self-reflection and self-examination. Y'all act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can't break it down. Sometimes we don't need to point the finger at others and say what they're not doing right and what they can be doing better, but instead we ought to use that biblical tool, amen, that one in Christian growth that God has given us, second only to the Bible, and that is your mirror. And figure out what it is that you can be doing better, what it is that you need to address in your own life. My last couple of weeks have been rewarding because I've had to wrestle with myself. And I found that that's a good place to find out what you need to fix. Not only rewarding, I also said that it has been some of the most difficult. And it was difficult because of a decision that I had to make. Dare I ask, have you been there? You know, the kind of decision that you thought was about one thing. But the more and more you thought about it, the more you realized that the decision was really about so much more. The kind of decision where things just don't line up like you want them to line up. I wonder, do I have a witness? The kind of decision where your gut, you know that feeling in the pit of your stomach, tells you one thing, but the facts of the situation tell you another. I'm just trying to lift up the point that I had a difficult decision to make. But I know I'm not alone in this thing called decision making. But decision making itself is a laborsome task all by itself. That literally it requires work to make decisions. Sometimes you gotta sweat through some decisions. Do you know it is estimated that most reasonably decisive adults make 35,000 conscious decisions a day? Now that's not in a week. That's not in a month or a year. But a reasonably decisive person makes 35,000 conscious decisions a day. I know y'all look at me like, ain't no way. But before you even woke up this morning, you made a whole bunch of decisions. Some of you started with a decision of whether or not you were going to hit the snooze button another time, or whether you were going to go ahead and get on up like you know you need to get on up. Some of y'all made that decision by yourself 10 times before you did anything else. Some of you made the conscious decision whether you were going to get out on the right side of the bed, amen, or whether you were going to get out on the left side of the bed. And how many of you all know that sometimes can determine how your day goes, amen? Somebody's looking at you right now wondering whether you got up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm literally, amen, trying to let you understand that even before you got going this morning, even before you got the sleep out your eyes, you are already making many, many decisions. I'm arguing that it is literally impossible to live this life without making a decision. Decisions are a part of our everyday life. Complex or simple, informed or instinctual, emotional or logical, big or small, whether they are yes or no, or complex philosophical quandaries and quagmires for the annals of history, our decisions, quite frankly, they define us. Yeah, because I don't care what you say. Oh, bless his name. Come on, man. Show me what you do. I'm going to know you by what you decide on a regular basis is who you are. For our character is the summation of what we repeatedly do. That literally our decisions, they do indeed define us. But that's not all. For Paul explains to us here in this letter to Romans that decisions are also a part of our spiritual worship. Yes, you heard the preacher right. Your decisions are a part of your worship. Now some may scratch their head and wonder how you're going to make that one work, Pastor. Well, Paul here in this eloquent exposition explains how we must present ourselves to God as holy and acceptable. Paul shows us that our bodies and our being and our living should be a sacrifice that we continuously give over to the Lord. Now, I know sacrifice isn't a subject matter that a whole lot of churches are preaching about today. Amen. Now, you can find anybody preaching about faith. You can find anybody preaching about blessings and abundance. But rarely do we find one who will lift up on a regular basis the idea that God has called us as believers to sacrifice. For sacrifice is going above and beyond and giving that unto that our living ought to be a sacrifice, continuously given to the Lord. Paul goes further to suggest how we should accomplish this. And it is through that all-important bridge between our thinking and our doing. For you know, there's a bridge that connects what we think to what we do. But I don't have to tell you, amen, or follow you long to realize that that which we think of doing sometimes don't end up being what we do. Come on, preach, Thigpen. I can talk about the temptations or the trials or the tribulations, and I wouldn't have to take long before somebody would identify and raise their hand saying, I meant to do right, but I messed around and did wrong. Paul himself even argued, that which I wanted to do, I don't do. That which I hate to do, I do. What a wretched creature am I? Who shall save me? Paul was no stranger to the understanding that the bridge that links our thinking to our doing is our decisions. For from the very beginning, freedom of choice and the ability to decide for ourselves has been one of the greatest gifts that we ever been given by God. For God did not force us to do anything, but God only comes by invitation into our life. That God is not a rude God or God that is not considerate, but instead God has allowed us to be free will, moral agents, choosing whether or not we decide to walk with God. From the very beginning. But yet, since the inception of time, we as humanity have struggled with this greatest of gifts. To determine not only what to do, but whether or not this gift of deciding is a blessing or a curse. I tell you, I can't speak for nobody else, so let me speak for myself. Amen. Sometimes I wish God wouldn't let me decide. Amen. I found out and I realized that in my own life, sometimes I'm not worth any. Sometimes I think I know better than God. I didn't not ask God, don't seek God, not do stuff that makes my situation worse. And then I mess around and act like God isn't even a part of my. Sometimes I wish God would have just made me do some stuff. Sometimes I wish God wouldn't have even allowed me the opportunity to choose. But because I've lived long enough and found out that God's ways are so much better than my ways, and God knows so much more than what I know, sometimes I just wish God would have just did it for me. I think about the relationship with my father. Amen. I told the 8 o'clock crowd my father was a disciplinarian. Amen. He was a heavy-handed father, and I don't mean that figuratively. Amen. He was the type of father where there wasn't no back talk, there wasn't no debate. What he said was what he said, and many times he even had to say, if he looked at you long enough, oh bless his name, you better figure out quickly what it was that you were supposed to be doing. Did anybody else have a daddy or a mama like that? Amen. Wasn't no questioning, wasn't no why we gonna do that? Amen. And don't you dare. Oh, amen. I'm having flashbacks. Amen. And don't you dare say something untrue, because your parents will say, are you calling? Are you calling me a lie? And you know when they say, are you calling me a lie? That meant the conversation's over. Even if you had a question, a legitimate question, it'd be in your best interest just to say that question until next time. But my father, it amazed me that, I mean, literally the day I turned 18, my father said, all right, boy, I can raise you now, and from here on, it's your decisions. And no longer would my father tell me what to do, which before, it wasn't even a question. If he said it, it was done. Now he would just give me advice. And here it was, I was 18 and thought I knew everything. Called myself an adult. decision. Well, it took me about 7 years, y'all. Amen. I was about 25 years old. I came running back to my dad as I thought back over all the decisions that I had brought to him. And all the time he was right, but I didn't want to listen to him. And I did wrong. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, if you knew, well, why didn't you make me? Why didn't you force me to do it? If you knew what was going on. He said, son, if I had done that, you wouldn't appreciate my advice now. And I wonder how many of us with our Heavenly Father, amen, are being allowed to make decisions on our own so that we might come to that realization of appreciating God and what God knows. God isn't forcing us to do anything, but instead God is, by our own decisions, allowing us to develop an appreciation for God and God working in our life. But whether we talk decisions or indecision, or even making no decision at all, whether we talk about the right decision or the wrong decision, whether we talk about the regret of a decision or the celebration of a decision, whether it is a value-based decision or a mission-driven decision or a vision-led decision, a bad advice decision, a good advice decision, or even a godly advice decision. Because just because something is good advice doesn't mean that it's godly advice. I want to help somebody today, amen. It might be good advice. And this is regardless of the source, amen, or the information that they share. Amen. Just because it's good for somebody don't mean it's good for you. Just because, amen, it is some advice that might do well in most instances doesn't mean it's what God has in store for you. Some of you right now have made some good decisions and still in the wrong place. Amen. Preach it again. Some of you, amen, have received some good advice. And the good news is you've made a lot of progress. The bad news is you went the wrong way. Because just because it's good doesn't mean it's God. Godly advice is that which lines up with the righteousness of God. And an understanding that God is constantly trying to lead and guide your life. Decisions, they shape significantly our lives. If you allow me quickly to dive into the data, according to the research by the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Science, the brain activity of the decision can be encoded up to 10 seconds prior to your awareness of even having to make a decision. The experts have reduced decision making down to two cognitive processes, one being rational and the other being intuitive. One being, amen, that which is logical, that you think and deduce and come up with what you believe to be the best solution. The other being something completely instinctual that you feel or just believe that it should be a certain way. But they argue that the best decisions are made not singly dealing with one or the other, but having some magical combination of the two. Some scientists even go further in suggesting that there's something unconscious that happens. Something unconscious programs the decision before we even consciously make the choice. Hear that now. Some scientists say that your mind is made up before you even know you got a decision to make. That literally the brain, amen, the brain has collected our past decisions so that literally we don't have to overthink stuff. That literally from the decisions you made in the past, your mind is already putting together a pattern to determine what you're going to do before you even realize you're making a decision. That's one of the reasons why, amen, even now when we watch TV and we think we're watching TV TV program, what's really happening is the TV is programming us. It's lowering our sensibilities, our inhibitions. It's lowering the threshold of what we believe is acceptable and how we should respond in certain situations. As a matter of fact, I would argue that this is exactly what Paul meant when Paul said, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed." Paul was arguing to that thing that psychologists call conditioning. For conditioning is when your brain has developed these patterns, and before you even consciously choose, your brain is already moving you down a path that it believes you've already gone down. Because the survival instinct of our brain says, don't try nothing new. Stay with what's old and comfortable. All of us, to a certain degree, are being conditioned. If nothing else, but by our own experiences. That's why Paul said, don't be conformed, which means be similar in nature and form, but instead be transformed, which means change. Because when it comes to thinking and doing, we ought not be like the world, preach the king. Even Google has gotten in on the game. Bless the Lord. Google, the all-knowing, all-seeing Google, amen. Where you can find anything you want at your fingertips. Google has even sought to tackle this problematic preface to our doing. Google decided that it needed a decision-making framework which would enable humans, groups of humans, and machines to make wiser decisions. Google, with this breakthrough framework in decision-making, believed that it was something that it needed to share with the whole world. And now Google, with this new discipline, this problematic preface, this decision-making framework, Google wants to sell it and give it to the whole world. The name of this new framework that Google has provided, let me read it so I don't get it wrong. It's called Decision Intelligence Engineering. Google is trying to help humans and humankind solve the problems of life and decide as they need to decide. They have come up with this Decision Intelligence Engineering. But I'm not too sure about it. Bless the Lord. And I'm not too comfortable about it either. Amen. For here it is, a computer-designed method for humans to decide with an acronym of DIE. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, bless the Lord. I don't watch that many Terminator movies. I wasn't in all into the Matrix. It was a good movie, amen. I'm not one who believes in an apocalyptic engineering by a machine, but I sure can read. And if you try to get me to make the decisions in my life based off of an acronym named DIE, no, I pass. I'm with you. Speaking of decisions that cause one to die, amen. Does anyone remember? I'm regressing just a little bit now. Does anybody remember the music that would play when your last man died in Pac-Man? I heard a few people, well, maybe I'm dating too many people, amen. If you're a little bit young, do you remember the sound that was made when Super Mario got out with his last man before he had the opportunity to save the princess or pull the flag down the flagpole? Well, you see, it was during the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life that I heard this game over music being played in my head. For matter of fact, if you allow me to go to one more childhood story and then I hurry and make my way to the close. I remember even decisions that I didn't make for myself. Amen. Decisions that I didn't even like at the time. Bless the Lord. For I remember that there was one decision that I absolutely hated in the moment. But time and wisdom taught me much later to be very grateful for. It was a decision that my father made for me. I already told you how it was. Bless the Lord. And my father asked me, was I going to play football when I got to high school? And mind you, I really didn't have any intentions on playing no football. I was an athlete, good athlete in all the sports that I played. Amen. But I was moving from private school to public school. Amen. And there was an excitement about this transition from private to public that really I couldn't put into words. But my daddy asked me, son, are you going to play football? And I said, well, you know, Dad, I don't. He came back to me a few days later, and it was before school had started, and he said, well, you know, they started practice today. Are you going to play football? I said, well, you know, I think I might go out once school starts. My dad left out the room and he came storming back in a few minutes later and said, get your shoes on and get in the car. I said, where we going? Don't you ask me where we going. Get yourself in the car. So we get in the car, amen. We drive and we get to the high school, bless the Lord. And my father gets out and slams the door and goes out onto the football field. And y'all don't mind if I paint a picture to you. Let me paint a picture to you. I was clean, y'all, amen. I done got my wardrobe together to enter into public schools. You hear me? I had on my brand new Nike Air Max. Amen. All right? Don't get mad, USC fans. I had on my Blue Devil Star shirt. Amen. I had on my little bitty gold chain, 14K. Amen. I had on my Georgia boots. You know the one with the tag in the middle. Amen. And you couldn't tell me nothing. And from a distance, I saw my dad and the coach doing like this. And do you all know I had to go out there and I had to practice that whole first day in my good school clothes? But my daddy had decided for me whether I liked it or not, whether I wanted to or not, that I was going to play football. Y'all, I was trying to send ESP messages to my mama because I know she wouldn't have wanted me out there in my good school clothes. But she wasn't nowhere to be found, and my daddy had decided. Amen. That I was playing football no matter what I had on. I thank God now. Many of the lessons I learned on the football field about getting up after you've been knocked down, about never giving up even when you're down by a whole lot, about what it means to be a leader and how to muster in people the desire to have something and fight for something that's bigger than themselves. I understood the concept of team. I understood how to deal with adversity, all because my daddy decided for me. I'm simply just saying that there are decisions, amen, that shape our life, because I wasn't trying to, amen, play no football. Amen. If you can hear the Pac-Man music playing in my head, amen. I was trying to play a whole nother game, amen. Bless the Lord. I told y'all I was moving from private to public school, amen. Amen. And Pac-Man wasn't playing. If I could summon my inner motley crew, amen. It was girls. I see some of y'all don't even know Pac-Man, even knew who motley crew was. I told y'all I was moving from private school, oh bless his name, to public school. But my father, he knew that was the best decision for me.
That's right.
Oprah most recently, in her latest appearance, proclaimed that she had Georgia on her mind in a stump speech as she expounds really on what the essence of our message is today. In the election day decision of voting, Oprah says, vote your values. Oprah says, vote your conscience. And I would add, moreover and more importantly, vote your convictions.
Yes.
You see, in addressing this November 6th decision that is before all of us, and I encourage you voters to take advantage of that, for the Harvard Business Review declares that a wrong decision is better than a no decision at all. Oprah speaks to all those who would hear discussing the noises that often surround our decisions. In speaking of these noises, Oprah in her own words says, they are designed to confuse you and confound you with fear. But then Oprah goes on to add that these noises, they are not designed for people with discernment. When you know what the right thing is and you can feel what the right thing is to do, you cannot be influenced by propaganda and you cannot be influenced by fear. Oprah declared to all of those standing, hearing, and seeking to elect Stacey Abrams as the first black female governor of Georgia. She said, now is the time for discernment. As much as I would like to simply echo the words of Oprah, I feel compelled that I must add. For you see, I come here today to tell you that not just on election day, but every day is a day of discernment. Every time, every decision, every instance is for those who are born again believers. It is an instance and a time for discernment. You see, discernment by name means you have to sift through some stuff. Discernment is a spiritual sense. It's understanding that everything that we do, we need to take it not only to the Lord in prayer, but we need to wait patiently to hear from God what it is that we need to be doing. The fact of the matter is that we all will have opportunities, and by connotation, opportunities sound good, but can I tell you that not every opportunity is ordained? That every opportunity that comes along your way isn't necessarily what God intended you to do or to be. And for the believer, our grace, our mercy, our strength, our power, it lies in our ability not simply to decide the facts, but that we will discern what it is that God wants to do in our life. I'm trying to help somebody right now that may be caught in the middle of a decision. For even myself, I find myself at times caught between a decision where I'm trying to weigh the facts, and sometimes I got too little facts. Sometimes I got too many facts. But I thank God for regardless of what the facts are, that can still call on God and ask God, what is your will for my life? Can I tell you, can I testify that there have been many instances and times in my life where I would have decided to do something else, saying I believe God called me to be in another place. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you're wrestling with. I don't know what decisions you have before you. But I do know that we all will have to make decisions in this life. Small and big, complex, amen, and simple. But whatever it is that you're deciding, you need to know that if you want to be in the will of God, then you must discern and not simply decide. For I can tell you, I ain't always made good decisions. Amen. All you need to bless the Lord. I know my wife don't keep a book. Amen. Bless the Lord. And we don't, I ain't seen it. Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord. I'm talking about my bad decisions. Amen. And we don't say I told you so in my house. Oh, bless the Lord. Amen. But she can make a look. Amen. Bless the Lord. You know, the slight smile, duck lips, amen, eyebrows high, one eye squinch like, don't act like I'm the only one that got that look. Amen. I'm just simply arguing that all of my decisions will not be right, but I thank God that she knows and I know, regardless of the decision that we make, not only can we learn from our wrong decisions, but more importantly, we can learn the principle that we ought to apply to every decision Nobody's not saying that you can't decide. But I found out a long time ago, I want what God has for my life much more than I want what I think is best for me. Yes, and can I tell you, there was a decision, amen, that even if I don't make the best of decisions from here on, amen, even if I miss some and get them wrong, I thank God there was one decision that changed my life, amen. For I believe the songwriter put it to melody when he said, I have decided to follow Jesus. And I believe it was that eternal phrase that he captured, that persistent and consistent spirit that all of us need to have in prayer. And that is no turning back. No turning back. And I want to encourage you today that if you haven't made the very most important decision, that now is the time for you to decide to follow Jesus. But not only to follow Jesus, but to give every decision to God. Hear me, people of God. You can't have enough facts. There ain't enough time in the world. There isn't enough worldly advice. There isn't enough experience for you to always choose what's best for you. But there is a guarantee in Scripture that the steps of the righteous are ordered. And that if you are willing to allow what God has ordained in your life to be that which you seek after and pursue, then not will you simply decide, but in everything that you do, you will be discerning what is good, pleasing, and acceptable unto God. Every day we take decisions to God and say, not my will, but your will be done. Lord, I can't choose, but I want you to choose. Show me, God, what it is that you desire for my life. The doors of the church